fresh off a 10 strikeout night back in game one.
And she was so dominant against Arkansas, able to use that rise ball up and out of the zone to get Arkansas to swing and miss. So these hitters for Arkansas have to make the adjustment. You can either move back in the box to see the ball longer and stay off that rise, or move up in the box to try to catch it before it breaks. But Rogers, so dominant in the circle in game one, expect to see another performance like that. And if Arkansas doesn't make the adjustments, they're really going to struggle again.
Certainly, she kept this lineup off balance in game one. Katie Warwick and Ashley Diaz have been the run producers for this Razorbacks team in the heart of the lineup, both with homers so far in the series. Hannah McEwen leads it off for Arkansas. And she's been steady at the top of the order, not only this season, but in a series that's been dominated by pitching for Tennessee. She's 3 for 6.
And just to see the amount of confidence she takes to the top of the lineup, 3 for 6, like you said, in this series, a 14-game hit streak that she's brought into this series.
And like we saw from Mary Half last night for Arkansas, Ashley Rogers for the Volunteers, so effective at getting ahead in counts early in game one. Third time this season that she's posted 10 or more strikeouts. And she's ahead in the count against Hannah McEwen, 1-2.
And already mixing speeds. That is what we saw was the benefit of Kaylin Arnold yesterday as she was in game two of this series. She was able to mix her speeds and really disrupt the timing of the hitters. So far, Rogers taking that same approach and evening up the count.
McEwen riding a 14-game hit streak. And for a team that has really struggled to get production at the bottom of the order, her bat for head coach Courtney Deifel has been that much more important at the top of the lineup. And the 2-2 misses low, and now a full count to the leadoff hitter, Hannah McEwen.
McEwen leads this team in batting average. She sits at the top of the lineup, not because of a lot of speed that she has, but that composed approach she has in the box, able to see a lot of pitches and give Arkansas an opportunity to see what Rogers will be throwing today.
Payoff pitch. Pat Lyon calling the balls and strikes behind home. Ed Clark up the first base line. Tammy Cooper over at third. Our umpire crew this afternoon from Knoxville. And Hannah McEwen continues to battle.
When those balls being fouled straight back show that McEwen has really timed up Rogers. She's going to need to disrupt the timing of McEwen to be successful, because right now the zone seems to be a little bit more tight than what we saw in game two. And so McEwen really tight on the zone and timed up Rogers perfectly by fouling those balls straight back.
8th pitch of the at-bat. And McEwen fouls it straight back.
I used to love being able to foul a pitcher straight back, knowing that if I just made a small adjustment in my swing plane that I'd be able to square the ball up. And McEwen right now fouling 3 of those pitches straight back, showing that her timing is right on with Rogers.
And here's a ball driven deep to center. Park will hold. Hannon back on it and makes the catch, one gone. Tennessee leads the all-time series with Arkansas 38-17. Arkansas did take the last series, though, back in 2017, 2-1. That was the first series win for the Hogs here since 2000. Tennessee has been so good at defending their home turf here at Lee Stadium. Not only overall, but also against Arkansas. Here's a line drive into left, and Danielle Gibson is aboard for the first time in the series.
And Gibson had really been struggling. She had an injury to her left wrist, which was preventing her from really using that top hand to drive through the ball. That, in the first 2 games, was really the difference, I think, because she was striking out and not really able to time things up. Danielle Gibson, a very aggressive approach in this first at-bat for her, and gets herself on.
Was 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts. Here's Ashley Diaz. Diaz homered back in game 1 to give Arkansas a 2-1 lead. It would not hold. Volunteers scored 6, including a 4-run fourth.
Diaz has so much power as she sits in this. She led the team in batting average her freshman year, but now as a senior has recognized that she's the one with the target on her back that most pitchers try to get out in their lineup.
Diaz bouncing ball to short, fielded by Segern. They get one at second base, but the throw to first not in time. Lead runner taken down, 2 away in the first. Katie Warwick got the big fly yesterday. That's all they needed, partner. Great pitching from Mary Half.
The 4th inning seems to be the one where we see most of the runs. Warwick able to sit on a ball that was flat out of the hand of Kaylin Arnold, took advantage of it, gave Arkansas the only run of the game that would give them the win.
Warwick stands in now with 2 down and a runner at first. He is 2 for 6 in the series, with 2 runs batted in and that homer yesterday. Just the 3rd time all year that the Volunteers have been shut out. Appeal up to first, and Ed Clark said she did not go around.
Warwick gets the advantage of that one. I think her bat did break the swing or the plane of the plate, but that rise ball, that was where a lot of these Arkansas hitters were vulnerable against Rogers in game 1. If they cannot lay off of that one, Rogers going to exploit that.
Warwick takes a strike on the outside corner. She's had a phenomenal start to her season, batting well above her career average. Came into the series batting .329. That's gone up a bit. Didn't start at the beginning of last season, but worked her way into the lineup. Drives this into center field. Hannon settles and gloves, and that ends the top of the first. Arkansas strands a runner, still scoreless. Tennessee will grab the bats when we come back.
Ball jump from the side, you could hear the spin on it. You could just tell right away she was going to be someone special.
This is some pretty good pitching right now, and what we're seeing from Mary Half.
Mary Half with a 1-hit complete game shutout.
Well, we certainly saw something special from Mary Half last night. A career-high 15 strikeouts. Her previous high was 13, and another complete game, partner, her 8th of the season.
And more impressive, she was 73% strikes yesterday, absolutely filling the zone. It's that rise ball, though, that can give hitters a problem. It's that spin that she has to focus on, though. As a hitter, you're looking for the ball out of the hand, making sure that it starts about knee or thigh high. If it starts any higher, you've got to lay off or you'll fall victim to a strikeout on a swing and a miss.
Aubrey Leach leads it off at the top of the order for the Volunteers. A team that was fooled at the dish last night against Mary Half. All but Chelsea Segern struck out at least once in yesterday's contest. And Leach down in the count 0-2. And you talked about Half and her efficiency hitting the strike zone. She was ahead early in the count often last night.
And it was the first at bat in Leach that we saw at the top of the game yesterday that really set the tone. The zone was very wide. That strike on the outer half, not really touching the corner, but getting the swing and not the strikeout.
0-2 hopper to Monzo. She fields it cleanly. 1 gone. And certainly a storyline this year for Arkansas has been the steadiness of the left side of the infield. This is a team that leads the SEC with 44 errors. We've talked about it a little bit earlier in the series, Jenny, with so much jumbling due to injuries, due to youth in the infield. But Monzo trying to come into her own over at shortstop. Here's a pop-up in foul territory. Still in play and fielded cleanly by Taylor Green at third. Speaking of defense, how about Chelsea Seger, just her second career start at shortstop yesterday?
She has made such an amazing transformation. 142 straight games played at third base prior to the series at Liberty. She stepped into shortstop, making it look like she'd been there her whole career.
Up with 2 outs and the base is empty for Tennessee. One for 6 in the series. The only volunteer not to strike out against Mary Half yesterday.
And that change was made defensively because of an injury to their starting catcher, Allie Shipman, a freshman this year, but had a situation with a ball down the line against Middle Tennessee in a midweek matchup that resulted in a broken wrist and a torn ACL. So she is out for the season, and those injuries causing a lot of shifting in the Tennessee defense to try to make up for that big loss behind the dish.
And on top of her being out, Abby Lockman, a senior, out for the year, redshirting after shoulder surgery. So they're especially shorthanded behind the plate and have had to dig deep into the bag of freshmen this season. A number 2 recruiting class for Ralph and Karen Weekly. And thankfully, as Karen Weekly told us, a number of these freshmen played catcher at some point in their careers, whether it had been travel ball or on their high school teams. So they do have some depth at the position, but definitely has forced this Volunteers coaching staff to jumble things around defensively.
And if you could read Chelsea Segern's lips, she said, I know, I need to let the ball get deeper, I know. And that communication between the dugout from Karen Weekly out to the batters, Segern does a great job of communicating and understanding what she needs to do to execute.
2-2, that catches the hand of Segern, and she'll head up to first. That one came in quickly on the left-hander.
A little frustrated in the pitch before by not being able to execute, but there's nothing that Segern can do to get out of the way of that one. Drops the bat, takes her stop off to first base. That's a tough one. There's not a lot of padding on those hands. Missed the arm guard, but gets herself to first base and some Skittles.
And now Haley Bearden. Bearden hit 119 last season, batting above 320 this year. And how about the increase in power? 8 home runs this season. In the previous 3 years, though, just 1 and 16 RBI. 0-2 over to the right side, fielded by Duncan. And that ends the first inning. Tennessee strands a runner, still no score as we head to the second. You're watching the SEC on ESPN.
The most random thing I ever bought online was socks.
A KitchenAid mixer.
It's a hacky sack.
5 swimsuits that were free.
A toothbrush.
Dog boots for my dog.
I would probably say taco sauce. Probably a quesadilla maker.
A garlic mincer.
A cable muncher.
The most random thing I ever bought online was a t-shirt with my face on it.
Some great characters in that dugout over there for Arkansas.
A dog, or boots for her dog. I don't know if I could go for that one, but I love the one that talks about how, or Taylor Green talking about she bought the shirt with her face on it. I'm going to need to figure out that website.
Arkansas ranked 18th in the country. Autumn Storm's Mary Half, they have made for a formidable duo in the circle. Kayla Green leads it off for the Razorbacks here in the top of the second. How about the 5 free swimsuits? What website is that on? Summer's coming around. I need to figure that website out.
After the game, we're going to have to head down to the dugout.
Right, take some notes.
I don't know what a cable muncher is, though.
I don't either. That has me stumped. Ashley Rogers back in the circle for Tennessee. She's been so dominant this season. Kayla Green 0 for 2 in the series with a strikeout. Back in the starting lineup behind the dish after playing mainly as the DP last week and a little bit the week before that. And as we mentioned back in the first inning, plenty of jumbling for the Volunteers, but Likewise, for Arkansas and Courtney Deifel's staff, still trying to figure out the right combination in the infield. 2-1 strike, leveling the count at 2 apiece.
The biggest difference in this game from Rogers' first appearance in game 1 in this series is just that Arkansas is showing a lot more plate discipline, staying off that rise ball and being a little bit more zoned in on that pitch on the outer half. So right now showing a lot of plate discipline and making them a little bit more successful than in game 1.
Swing and a miss, and the first strikeout of the afternoon for Ashley Rogers.
And that's not a bad swing. Honestly, this ball is tight on the zone. The only difference is you've got to make sure that your barrel stays above your knob on approach to make sure that you can stay above a rise ball, knowing that that is her bread and butter pitch. Kayla Green gets a little bit stuck on that one, lets the ball get in on her hands too much and gets the strikeout.
Ashley Rogers set down the first 9 Razorbacks in game 1, striking out 6. Here is Ali Manzo, first pitch swinging and pops it foul.
Only 1 walk this season for Manzo. Got that yesterday in the matchup. So not a super patient hitter, but able to attack the zone. Just got to stay off that ball up, though.
Manzo pops it up, middle of the infield. And the shortstop, Segern, puts it away, 2 gone.
Priorities on the infield really fall to your middle infielders, and so Segern, as the shortstop, has priority over every infielder as she recognizes that ball coming close to the circle, calls everybody off. I love that communication, and it's so important for Segern to be able to dominate that position, knowing it's not her primary role, but looking to really solidify that for the rest of the season for the Volunteers.
Here's the freshman Taylor Green. How big of a difference is there moving from third to short?
It's a tough adjustment because at third base, it's more of a reactionary position because the ball gets on top of you so fast. At shortstop, you have a lot more ground to cover, so angles are much more important, and you have to be able to time up those hops with balls on the ground.
1-0 check swing didn't go around. 2-0 now on Taylor Green. Ashley Rogers, self-proclaimed straight-faced in the circle. Says that composure is her biggest strength, regardless of the situation. Behind in the count, 3-0 here to Ali Manzo.
And she's been in big situations before. She was the 2017 Gatorade Player of the Year in Tennessee. She has her brother Andrew in the dugout as a manager on this squad and able to come in with a lot of composure in the circle.
And Manzo draws a 2-out walk, just the second walk of the season for Manzo, and it comes in back-to-back games.
Next batter for Arkansas, second baseman number 24, Nicole Duncan.
So for the second straight inning, a runner aboard with 2 outs, and now Nicole Duncan comes to the plate. This is the part of the order that has really struggled in the series. Duncan, first pitch swinging, is foul. The 6, 7, 8, and 9 hitters for Arkansas in the series coming into today, 0 for 20.
It's this bottom of the lineup that really needs to start producing. They have been unable to come up with any kind of hits. They have gotten on via the free pass down at the bottom of the lineup, but they've got to be more aggressive on the strike zone.
Rogers ahead 0-2.
That's also why we've seen a lot of shuffling defensively for Arkansas, trying to find the right fit, not just in the field, but also 1 through 9 to be able to put some runs up on the board.
Duncan herself 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts in the series.
One of the things that the changes for Tennessee has brought is a new catcher, Gracie Osborne, back behind the dish. Tennessee has not thrown out a base stealer yet this season. Everyone has been successful on those stolen base attempts, but do not expect to see Arkansas going in this situation. They are last in the SEC in stolen bases.
Duncan stays alive, pulling another foul. Struck out twice in game 1 against Ashley Rogers. Putting together a nice AB here with 2 down in the top of the second. And Rogers rings her up, looking on the outside corner. A strikeout to end the second. And Arkansas strands 1, still scoreless from Knoxville.
I love The Office. That's one that I binge watch with my kids all the time. Dwight Schrute just makes me laugh.
This lineup not only full of personality, but full of balance in the lineup. 3rd in the SEC in batting average, top 10 in the country in on-base percentage. Here is Kaylee Phillips. Third baseman has gone 2 for 6 in this series. Part of that tremendous freshman class that the Weeklies have brought in, top 2 in the country. You see there in the numbers, has had a great start to her freshman campaign. I think that's the thing that both coaches really echo with these programs, Courtney Deifel and then Ralph and Karen Weekly for Tennessee. They expect the freshmen to come in and be contributors because there is no time in this league to bring in freshman classes of 5 or 6 players and wait for them to develop. 9 teams in this conference in the top 25 nationally.
Well, and what you see is teams needing to go to the bench more often because of injury or because of hiccups early in the season. So what usually starts as your starting lineup in game 1 is never what you end up with at the end of the season. So these freshmen given opportunities, capitalizing on them and keeping themselves in the lineup.
2-2. Phillips caught a piece. And these teams probably having to utilize that depth a little bit earlier than they might have wanted to due to injuries on both sides. But Phillips has certainly stepped in nicely over at third base.
And she has big shoes to fill. With Segern departing there, she had been the starter in the last 142 games prior to that Liberty game in the midweek.
2-2, flying ball to center. McEwen under it and puts it away, 1 gone. The NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One continues today at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on ESPN2 with more second round matchups. Check local listings for the game in your area. And remember that all are streaming live on the ESPN app so that you can watch anywhere. One down now for Ashley Morgan. And she takes one on the shoulder. Back-to-back innings in which Mary Half has hit a volunteer.
You don't expect to see that pitch riding in. Ashley Morgan in game 1 of this series was hit by a pitch in her first at bat as well. So able to stand in there. You do not have to make an attempt to get out of the way of a ball that enters the box. And so she just stands there and takes it and gives herself an opportunity to help Tennessee out.
That is her 14th hit batter of the season. And now Amanda Ayala digs in for Tennessee.
So while we talk about Half and how good she is at striking batters out, she's also leading the SEC in most hit batters. So that control can get away from her, knowing that she's got that curveball that gets away and comes out of her hand, just gets into that left-handed batter's box.
The 1-1. Well, we talked about it a little bit yesterday with Half getting the start in the circle in game 2. She, until yesterday, had struggled in SEC play, and part of that was the psychological effect of getting over those illegal pitches that she was calling for at Ole Miss. Of Courtney Neifel said that really rattled her and stayed with her longer than one might have thought. But yesterday rebounded really well with 15 strikeouts.
And I was not a pitcher, but I can only imagine the mental struggle it is as you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders trying to get wins in SEC play, and that one just rattled her, and she was unable to get her footing until this series.
2-2 gets away from Green, and Morgan will head up to first base easily without a throw.
A rise ball is one of Mary Half's go-tos, but she's going to have to reel that one in and make sure that it stays a little bit tighter on the zone. That was a uncatchable pitch back there behind the dish for Kayla Green. Because of it, Tennessee moves up and puts themselves in scoring position.
Wild pitch, runs the count full. So now a runner in scoring position for Tennessee. Tennessee has been patient at the plate early. 7th pitch of the at-bat here to Amanda Ayala. 3-2, driven into left. Towards the line, par, and she makes the catch in foul territory. Tennessee was not terribly effective with runners in scoring position in game one, but did just enough to come away with the win. 3 for 19 over the first 2 games. And that one caught a piece of Gracie Osborne. So 2 hit batters in the inning for Mary Half. And now 2 on.
And Osborne just stands tight in the box. This one runs in on her. Normally you see most batters that wear that protective arm guard to help them out with that pitch that runs inside. Because you don't have to make a move, you want to wear that pitch to give your team an opportunity to get a free pass down to first base. But not wearing an arm guard, that is a tough hit. I mean, there's nothing protecting you there. That's straight bone that takes that pitch. And
thank you.
They do not need another catcher to go down with an
they
injury here at Tennessee. I mean, that's her receiving arm, so she's going to have to really buckle up and make sure that she's okay.
2 on, 2 out for Kaylin Hannon in the 9 spot for Tennessee. 3 hit batters already in the game. That ties a season high for Mary Half. She hit 3 at McNeese State back on February 8th. And pops it foul, and it's quickly 0-2.
In the bottom of the lineup for Tennessee against Mary Half yesterday, they were most successful with Osborne. She was the only one, 7 through 9, to come away with a hit. So they're still trying to find the right mix at the bottom of the lineup to help them push runs around.
Tennessee has scored 2 runs or less in 4 of their last 5 games. They've relied heavily on pitching, though, because they've held opponents to 2 runs or less in 5 of the last 6. Swing and a miss. And the first strikeout of the afternoon for Mary Half. Tennessee stranding runners in scoring position. Still scoreless after 2. You are watching the SEC on ESPN. Glad to have you with us on a beautiful Sunday here in Knoxville, Tennessee. A pitcher's duel thus far, as to be expected, with Ashley Rogers and Mary Half, 2 of the top 3 strikeout leaders in the SEC. We had a 1-0 game yesterday. Arkansas trying to get on the board first like they did in game 2. Sydney Parr leads it off from the 9 spot for the Razorbacks. She is 0 for 6 in the series and has twice been called out for that new slapper rule, stepping over the line.
That slapping rule really has changed the game for slappers because they are unable now to step over the line with any part of their foot and make contact with the ball. It's the outside pitch that has really become a vulnerable spot for them in their game. They used to be able to take that step, and as long as they were in contact with the line, they were safe. But right now, slappers still struggling with that rule change back in 2018.
And last night was a particularly big situation for Parr to get called out for that rule because it was with 1 out in the 7th inning. And Tennessee's offense has been pretty strong this year, although pitching has been what they've leaned on. Certainly for Arkansas, they would have liked to have gotten some more runs in the 7th inning, but Parr was called out. That was the 2nd out of the inning, and then the strikeout of Hannah McEwen.
And if you remember, the rule does not mean the ball has to be put in fair play. If you touch the ball and you're out of the box, and that's what happened to Parr. It was a foul ball, but she was still out.
Pitch misses high and in, and now a full count to Sydney Parr. Here's a look at that rule. And it's been talked about a lot, especially on the 7 Innings podcast, which you have been a regular guest on, just how much that has affected the slappers in the college game. There's a ball punched down the line, foul.
The slappers have become such an integral part of the game, and we've seen that they've been taken out of the game just a little bit because of that rule change. Last year, so many slappers being called out that we saw them actually being taken out of lineups because they were so vulnerable to just an out call. So we've recognized that weakness in our game, but also needing to bring it back.
Parr staying alive. That was the 7th pitch of the at-bat. You talked about it a little bit earlier, but both teams seemingly more patient today at the plate.
And that's what you see in day 3, able to come in against a pitcher that you've already faced. And so the game plan that you had originally against them that maybe you didn't execute correctly the first time, you're able to step back in with a little bit slower heart rate and be able to execute the plan that your coach has put in place.
Payoff down the line, but foul just under the glove of Kaylee Phillips. Corner infield playing in for the slapper, Sydney Parr. Has not reached base yet in the series. But has the speed to affect the game once she gets on base. Certainly has that ability, too, to turn over the lineup. Putting together a tough at-bat here against the freshman sensation, Ashley Rogers.
And if you notice her feet on every at-bat or every swing, she is across that line. The problem is the only umpire that can make that call is the one behind the plate. So if the ball goes up as the result of the play, a lot of times the umpire's eye is not drawn down to the box and her footing. So it's the ball on the ground that really yields the out-of-the-box rule because the umpire's eye is drawn down to the box.
10th pitch of the at-bat, driven up the middle and into center field, and it'll roll to the wall. Parr rounding second base. Relay throw coming to third, not in time. A lead-off triple for Sydney Parr.
Off the bat, this ball did not look like it was going to be a problem. A routine ground ball to the outfield, but Phillips out in center misplays this one. Angles are such an important part of the game out in the outfield. Parr doesn't even think that she's going to have to get past first base, but because of the angle that Phillips takes, it gets all the way to the wall and gives Arkansas an opportunity as they flip the lineup back to the top.
But now the go-ahead run stands at third base with the top of the lineup back at the dish. Here's Hannah McEwen. She's driven in 16 runs this season in the leadoff spot. And with runners in scoring position this season, batting .348. That has been a story for both teams throughout this series. The inability to consistently get those timely hits. And quite frankly, that's part of the reason we saw a 1-0 game yesterday.
Tennessee had put themselves in a situation to be able to push runs around, but timely hitting, that's what wins ball games. And right now, Arkansas in a great position to put themselves on top and get the lead early in the game.
McEwen, line drive into center. Great catch from Hannon. Here comes the tag, and under the tag, Sydney Parr sliding safely to give the Razorbacks a 1-0 lead.
And that is a throw that you practice in every practice that you have. Balls to the outfield coming up, that do-or-die play coming home. And what you want to see out of that throw is a throw that gives a one-hop to the catcher, puts her in a great position to be able to not only receive but also apply the tag. Out of the hand of Phillips, this one was way too high. So because of that, Osborne unable to come away with it and get the tag down in time.
One down, bases empty for Danielle Gibson. Singled back in the first. Her first time aboard in the series. Come in 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts. Still dealing with the lingering effects of that wrist injury she suffered against Tulsa on a tag that she made up the first baseline. So not in the lineup as a first baseman, but as a DP. But glad to see her swinging the bat well again here in Game 3.
And I recognized before the game that she did not have that wrist wrapped, which is what she has had in the first 2 games of this series, to try to give it a little bit more support. So without it being wrapped, I think she's got a little bit more flexion through that top hand, a little bit more power, and able to stop if she doesn't want to advance through the ball.
Taking all the way, and now a 3-ball, 1-strike count. Rogers struggling a little bit more today than we saw in Game 1 to find that strike zone. Had 10 Ks on Friday afternoon. The 3-1.
And Gibson is a transfer, a mid-year transfer coming in from ASU. She led ASU last year in home runs, doubles, and slugging percentage. She is such a great pickup for Arkansas, knowing that they have a lack of power in their lineup. Really has been silent in this series.
Payoff. One of a number of transfers for Courtney Deifel and her Razorbacks program. 4 transfers have come in this season. Gibson and Ryan Jackson, who we haven't seen in this series, both came in midway through the year, joining the team in January. "3-2", lined into left and foul.
We saw her earlier in this year accomplish a feat of a home run cycle. I don't know why they continued to pitch to her through that game, but if you go back and watch those home runs, they continuously went to the outside to try to force her out of her comfort zone. She is a dead pull hitter, but was able to go oppo on 2 of her home runs.
Another 3-2, pops it into center. Hannon puts it away, 2 gone. Four home runs in a game, and on top of that, a 4 home run cycle. That's something you see in the video game, not in real life.
Well, she was feeling it that night, and the situation actually worked out perfectly. There was an opportunity in her 4th at bat to not get the cycle because there was a runner on 3rd, but a pass ball gave her an opportunity to have nobody on, and she got that solo home run.
Speaking of home runs, Ashley Diaz has 1 already in the series. She digs in with 2 down.
Diaz has had so much power as of late. She's homered in 3 of her last 4 games, hitting .400 in those as well. Just absolute power in this slot for Arkansas.
Then on top of that, a senior leader from South El Monte, California. And has really had some timely hits for this Arkansas team over the last couple of weeks. 1-1, rolled over to 3rd, fielded by Phillips, and on to 1st to end the inning. But the Razorbacks get on the board with a sac fly to center field.
It started off with a triple and a misplay in center, but a high throw gives Arkansas the lead.
You are watching the SEC on ESPN. Beautiful day for softball here in Knoxville, Tennessee. A top 20 matchup. The rubber match between Arkansas and Tennessee. Razorbacks ahead early, 1-0. They got on the board early yesterday, 1-0, and were able to hang on because of some great pitching from Mary Half, who is back in the circle for Arkansas this afternoon. Taking on Aubrey Leach. And that bunt just rolls foul. She can get up the line in a hurry.
I think one of the things, though, that makes her most effective is she reads a defense. She recognizes when her corners are pulled back and will drop that drag bunt. But if they are playing her in and squeezing her tight, she will go ahead and try to punch it through with a hard slap. She also has a soft slap that she can use if her middle infielders are back. So she just has so many tools. Also, with 2 home runs on the year, she's got power as well.
Pops this into foul territory and out of play. 4 for 8 in the series with a double, 2 runs batted in.
And talking about her speed, Karen Weekly said, you know, she's the first player we've ever had to be a green light kid when she gets on base. So she also has the opportunity to steal bases once she gets on as well.
Preseason All-American by multiple publications. And you talk about that speed. She's the NCAA active leader in runs scored. And she's less than 20 runs shy of breaking Tennessee's career runs record held by Raven Chavan back in 2013. And she is punched out on the inside corner. A called strike, the second of the day for Mary Half.
And it's an off-speed pitch, and so what that does is it usually takes a batter out onto their front side because their timing's disrupted. She thought that one was a little bit too high, but she gets rung up on it because she does not get through this ball. A changeup that sits high in the zone is very hittable, so that one she could have been able to get around on, but she thought it was too high, so she stayed off.
Corner infield drawn in again. Here's the lefty, and right into the mitt of Mary Half. How do you like that, Jenna Holcomb?
That does not happen very often. Holcomb comes away, an unfortunate placement of that one, put it right at the glove height. Mary Half comes away with it. More of a defensive move than anything else, making it look easy, and has to show the umpire, hey, look what I got.
Yeah, look what I found.
My eyes had already trailed up into center, expecting that ball to trickle by second base.
2 quick outs. Base is empty for Chelsea Segern, who was hit by a pitch back in the first inning. 0-1, driven into right. Trailing over to make the play is Katie Warwick in a 1-2-3 inning for Mary Half. Flashing the leather in the circle for the Razorbacks. Welcome back to Knoxville. Arkansas on top of Tennessee 1-0 as we start the top of the 4th, and now joined by Razorback head coach Courtney Deifel. Coach, Mary Half flashing the leather, showing off that athleticism a little bit in the circle.
Yeah, she's such an athlete. We were joking about it, how quick she was. I think as a pitcher, that just gets in your glove before you even know. So it's a great play.
More of a defensive play than anything else, probably.
Yeah.
What are you liking out of Mary? We saw her yesterday hold Tennessee to very few hits. What are you liking about her today?
Well, she's pitching with a lot of guts today. I don't think either pitcher is quite as crisp, but they're doing a really, really good job of just getting contact outs, and our defense playing well behind her.
Coach, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Well, you made that point earlier. I think both lineups showing a little bit more patience at the plate, and that's forcing the pitch counts to rise faster than they did in games 1 and game 2.
And in game 1, you've got some emotion into it. It's the first game of a series. You've had some struggles going down the stretch, and it depends on how your leadoff hitter sets the tone. And we saw Leach really set the tone well in game 1, but then in game 2, getting that strikeout early on, the zone was a little bit bigger, and so game 3, those emotions a little bit more in check, and you're able to execute the plan that the coaching staff has put in place.
Ashley Rogers back in the circle for Tennessee. Katie Warwick batting for the Razorbacks, her second time up this afternoon. Lined out to center her first time up. Gave this Razorbacks team The only run they needed yesterday with a home run to left center.
It was a pitch that was just left too big in the zone by Kaylin Arnold. We saw her walk the next batter and get lifted right after that. So it was a tough inning for Arnold, but Warwick took advantage of a pitch left too big in the zone, and that's what you have to do. As a big hitter, as any hitter, you're trying to hit a mistake. A pitcher is not wanting to leave the ball over much of the wide of the plate, and so as a hitter, you're looking for one that is a mistake out of the hand of the pitcher coming out of the circle, and Warwick able to capitalize on a tough pitch just left big in the zone by Arnold.
3-0 fouled off the screen. Rogers third in the SEC in strikeouts. There's more strikeouts than hits, earned runs, and walks combined. And she gets a swing from Katie Warwick, running the count full.
And that changeup is the great equalizer. It disrupts the timing of a hitter. It's hard to hold up on because that tight spin fools the eye to make you believe that it's coming in a lot faster than it actually is. And so if a pitcher is able to spin tight, that changeup, it fools the eye of the hitter and gets that check swing or swing and miss.
Payoff, misses upstairs, and a walk for Katie Warwick. The NCAA Women's Championship second round continues tonight with UConn Buffalo at 7 Eastern. Then it's Mississippi State Clemson on ESPN and the ESPN app. We will step aside as Tennessee makes a pitching change here in the top of the fourth. Arkansas on top 1-0. A familiar sight here in Knoxville this weekend. Maddie Moss coming in to relieve. She has 8 strikeouts in relief this weekend, 10 over 4 2/3 in the series. She has just been so good coming out of the pen, partner.
Well, coming into relief in game 1, she really struggled, only able to go 2/3 of an inning, but she came in yesterday to relieve Kaylin Arnold, doing a great job and filling the zone with strikes, didn't give up any hits, and it was that mix of speed that really kept her dominant. She's added that off-speed drop that is hard to recognize out of the hand, and so as hitters, I would really move up in the box to try to take advantage of that ball down in the zone and not try to give up myself on that ball that she tries to run away from righties, that curve ball that comes out of the zone. The zone a lot bigger yesterday. Let's see how she adjusts to the zone of today.
Taking on Kayla Green. With a runner at first and nobody out.
Directed that back to the 13, Kayla Green.
There is Ashley Rogers. 3 innings, a couple of strikeouts and walks. Gave up that 1 earned run on a sac fly to center back in the 3rd. Still possible that we may see her again later in the afternoon.
We saw that happen in game 1. Rogers was lifted for Kaylin Arnold, who then gave way to Maddie Moss, but then Arnold came back in to finish that one, or Rogers came back in to finish that one up in game 1. Maddie Moss, though, very good yesterday in the 4 innings that she pitched.
1-1 to Green, a strike at 65 miles per hour. Moss brings that energy, that not only pumps up the players in the field, but also the fans love watching her pitch because of the boisterous personality in the circle. 1-2.
One of the things we talked about on the 7 Innings podcast was your favorite sounds a couple of weeks ago, but just this week we talked about bat flips and, you know, are they appropriate? Are they not appropriate? One of the things, though, that I brought up was when a pitcher kind of showboats me in the circle after a big strikeout, Maddie Moss is very energetic out after a strikeout, and it would make me more determined in my next at bat. While I would love to play defense behind her because she turns around and engages me as a fielder, as an opposing hitter, it would really get under my skin, I think, to the point that it would motivate me to be a lot more focused on my strike zone and try to drive that ball right back up the middle.
She's been doing it for 4 years here at Knoxville, the senior from Greenville, South Carolina. Looking for a strikeout here. Instead, a line drive in the center, but playable for Hannon. One gone.
Green had that one timed up, but placed it right into the glove of Phillips, and it leaves Warwick still stranded at first base. So a good first outing for Maddie Moss against Kayla Green, trying to get Tennessee back in the dugout after that first batter walk given up by Rogers.
And now Ali Manzo popped out her first time up and lines it right to the shortstop, and a quick throw and a bang double play ball. How about Chelsea Segern at shortstop?
Well, if there's ever a replacement for the amazing shortstop of last year, Megan Gregg, Chelsea Segern stepping into a role that may not be familiar to her, but she is making it look easy over there at shortstop.
Welcome back to Knoxville. Bottom of the fourth, Arkansas on top of the Volunteers 1-0. Now joined by Tennessee head coach Karen Weekly. And coach, you moved Chelsea Segern over to shortstop, making her second career start there today. And she's making all the plays for you.
Yeah, she is. You know, she's doing a great job. And we played her there a lot in the fall because the shortstop we'd planned on, Gracie Osborne, was out most of the fall. So, you know, we saw some really good things in the fall that we liked. So we thought this was a good opportunity to see that again.
Stats and analytics are a big part of our game, but sometimes it's just a gut check. What is it that goes into that decision to lift Rogers and bring Moss in during that inning?
You know, today her velocity is just a little bit slower, which isn't always a bad thing, but I just didn't feel like she was really using her legs and getting good sharp break on her pitches. Usually she doesn't struggle to find the strike zone like she has been a little bit today. So I think that was really the main factor in making that decision when we did.
Coach, thank you, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Well, that's something we talked about off air before we came here for Game 3 with Rogers and Half both coming back today. How would their legs hold up in Game 3?
In years past, Auburn has used their sport performance department to be able to step in and help them generate the numbers to figure out what it is that would help leg recovery in the circle between outings. And I don't know that they're using them as much since there's been that coaching change at Auburn.
Pop fly in the center falls for a base hit, and Haley Bearden is aboard for the Volunteers. She extends her hit streak to 5 games.
Bearden, a great spot down there in that 4-hole for Tennessee. Able to step in and get things started for Tennessee, and needing to respond to that one run put up by Arkansas back in the third.
Treasury Poindexter comes in to pinch run for Haley Bearden. That base hit from Bearden the first time today that a leadoff hitter has gotten aboard against Mary Half.
So with speed over there at first now, that gives Tennessee an opportunity to try and steal. They've done that twice in this series. And the reason that speed is so important is it changes the look of your defense. You're going to have to now move your shortstop or your second baseman a little bit closer to second to defend that, and it pulls your corners off the line, so it opens up your defense just a little bit when you've got speed on the bases.
There's the freshman from Atua, Tennessee, Kaylee Phillips.
So the second baseman will be covering the steal on this. Because of that, it opens up that 3-4 hole. So if half continues to take the outside half, it's going to give her an opportunity to go the other way. That's one thing you need to do as a hitter is recognize your defenders. Figure out who's moving where, what a pitcher is giving you. There's a lot of things that need to be analyzed as you step into the box. You've got to pick that stuff up also in the batters or in the on-deck circle. And so right now with second base pinching up closer to second base, it gives a bigger hole over in that 3-4 slot.
Poindexter has only attempted one stolen base so far this season. She was unsuccessful. Really, neither team very aggressive on the base paths.
Both of these teams very low in stolen bases. Arkansas at the bottom of the pack, Tennessee with only 23 on the season. So not an aggressive base stealing matchup here in SEC play for them. The reason that Arkansas doesn't steal is because of Matt Michael and his analytics. He says, you know, when we look at the numbers, it doesn't fare well, that we are going to put ourselves in a good opportunity. And they also say they don't have the speed right now to get it either. But Tennessee does have more speed than Arkansas.
Phillips fighting off another, pops it foul down the left field line. Courtney Deifel, the head coach for the Razorbacks, says that assistant coach Matt Michael is the best numbers guy in the country.
His brain just operates in a much different way in the way he looks at the numbers of the game and is able to go and make changes defensively and offensively because of those numbers and those trends.
Phillips goes down swinging. The third strikeout of the afternoon for Mary Half. The NCAA Women's Championship, presented by Capital One, continues today at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on ESPN2 with more second-round matchups. Check local listing for the game in your area, and remember that all are streaming live on the ESPN app so that you can watch anywhere. Plenty of SEC teams still left on the women's side and the men's side. These Volunteers playing right now in the men's March Madness tournament.
This time of year is so fun as you watch different sports collide, especially during championship time. The energy and just the enthusiasm that comes around college sports at championship time is so encouraging. I love watching it, and it just fires me up.
Here's the lefty, Ashley Morgan. This has to be up there with best times of year in sports.
Just so many things going on. You've got all kinds of sports happening, and with the warmer weather, you've got a lot of fans coming out to enjoy it as well at the ballpark.
Yeah, great crowd again today at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium in Knoxville. Mid-60s, sun is shining.
Perfect day for softball.
And Sunday's best.
That's right.
For the Vol Locos.
Lady Vol Locos out in Sunday best, trying to get Tennessee another win this series, but right now sitting behind and unable to push runners around.
Great fan base here in Tennessee. The Lady Vol Locos bring a different theme to the ballpark every game in a home series, and then on top of that, just the passion of this fan base.
They've got a different cheer for every player on Tennessee, and just sitting and listening to those cheers, they make you chuckle.
Morgan pops it up to center. McEwen nestling under and puts it away. 2 gone. I was leaving the stadium after game 1, which Tennessee won 6-4. And some ladies were standing outside of the elevator area talking about why it was so important to win game 1 against the Razorbacks and what this series means in the grand scheme of things in the SEC. And just so fun to be in an environment like that in the game of softball.
Very passionate fan base, and I think it's because of the closeness that the fan gets to the field. They're able to feel a part of the action. It's one of the neatest things about our game is we do have interactions with the fans because they are so close to us and they feel a part of our run to postseason play.
Here's a pop-up to left from Amanda Ayala. Parr shielding the sun, and it bounces off her mitt. Rounding second and heading to third is Bearden, and she's in without a tag.
And while Tennessee is able to benefit from the sun in the eyes of Parr out there and left, that is a routine catch, but the sun absolutely in her eyes. You've got to find a way to block the sun and find the ball. You can use your glove, you can use your hand, but sometimes that ball finds itself right in the middle of the sun. So Ayala able to come away with a big one for Tennessee, even this game up. An unfortunate play out there for Parr. She's going to need to shake it, get herself back in this game, because the game knows, and this next ball has the potential to head her way. She's got to shake that and be able to come back away a little bit more confident, knowing that she can get the next play.
And another unfortunate error for Arkansas.
That's a tough one to combat. Really, the sun, we saw the sun as it sets, it goes and affects the right side of the field. But that one with sun right in the eyes of Parr, she's got her glasses on. She was trying to shield it, got herself down as low as she could to try to find a way to get that ball out of the sky, but could not do so.
Errors have really plagued this team this year. They're 243rd in the NCAA in fielding percentage. They lead the SEC in errors. And when you sort of look at the numbers in their series in the SEC to this point, it's been the errors that have been the deciding factors. They had 8 errors in the series loss against Ole Miss, just 4 in a series win against South Carolina.
But it was 3 in one game that would cause that loss for them in Game 3 against South Carolina.
Here's Gracie Osborne. And she pops it foul and out of play. And we have a pinch hitter. It is Madison Piccini. Tied at 1 here in the bottom of the 4th. Go-ahead run at third base. And Madison Piccini at the dish. Tennessee trying to capitalize. Piccini puts a charge into left, and it's down but in foul territory.
Piccini was all out on that one, wanting to get herself to second base. We saw her come up in yesterday's game in the same situation, but this ball right down the line, that's a great ball to dive at, knowing that if it gets past Parr out there and left, she would still be able to recover because it would be foul. So a great dive down the line, just a little bit short.
One-two count, 2 down. Piccini fights it off.
Piccini came up as the last batter in the game yesterday. Down a run with a runner on first base. It's so hard to come off the bench and be productive. But Piccini hoping to be able to capitalize on what was a miscue in yesterday's game and get another run for Tennessee. Great reaction on that changeup, able to keep her hands back and just foul it off. That's the kind of battle you're looking for in a player coming off the bench. A great attack on a pitch that could have really got her hung up.
And Piccini continuing to battle at the plate with 2 outs. 6 pitches in the at-bat already. Pinch hitting for Gracie Osborne in the 8th spot. And is called out on a strike on the outside corner. The 4th strikeout for Mary Half. Tied up at 1 after 4. You are watching the SEC on ESPN. Beautiful day for softball. Rubber match of this top 20 showdown in the Southeastern Conference. The 5th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers and the 18th-ranked Razorbacks of Arkansas all tied up at 1 here in the top of the 5th. Taylor Green leads it off for Arkansas. Maddie Moss back in the circle after relieving Ashley Rogers back in the 4th inning.
And with such a low batting average, you would think that Taylor Green is not very productive, and she hasn't been with hits, but she has squared the ball up and really impressed the Arkansas coaches, and that's what gets her in the lineup.
Yeah, Courtney Deifel talked to us and said, look, her numbers don't reflect how good her at-bats have been this season. She's been robbed a couple of times. There was a SportsCenter top 10 play out in center field at Ole Miss where she was robbed of a solo home run. It's plays like that that have really plagued Taylor Green so far this season. Green pops it foul.
And in watching Green's approach and stance in the box, she's one of the most balanced hitters, stays in her legs very well, and because of that, that disruption of timing does not affect her as much as it does some of those other hitters. She's put together some of the most competitive at-bats for Arkansas, not only in this series, but in this season as well.
Down on strikes. First strikeout of the afternoon for Maddie Moss. The NCAA Women's Championship, presented by Capital One, continues today at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on ESPN2 with more second-round matchups. Check local listings for the games in your area, and remember that all are streaming live on the ESPN app so that you can watch anywhere. Here is Nicole Duncan, who has struggled in the series at the plate. 0 for 6 with 6 strikeouts. Just her second time up this afternoon.
That pitch away was the toughest pitch out of both hands of the pitchers yesterday in the circle. The strike zone very wide. Maddie Moss really remembering that strike zone from last night, wanting to get that check swing call down the line.
And that misses low. For a 3-0 count now to Duncan, who's looking to get aboard for the first time in the series. And a called strike, to the surprise of Nicole Duncan, who thought she had a walk on 4 pitches.
And that pitch location looked very similar to the one before that was called a ball, but there was a conversation that happened between Moss and the home plate umpire asking where that pitch would be. I think because of that conversation, it altered the call right there to be able to say, I can put it right back where it was. You want to see it again?
Little senior gamesmanship from Maddie Moss. A walk ultimately drawn, though, by Nicole Duncan. And now a runner on with 1 out. And now Ralph Weekly pops out of the dugout. Moss has just been so good in relief. Hasn't allowed a run in her last 3 relief appearances.
And I think this change is being made back behind the dish because of that hit by pitch that Osborne suffered earlier in this game. It was on her receiving arm. She did not hit in her last at bat. She had been lifted for another hitter. And so because of that, you hope that that's not something that Tennessee's going to have to now make another change for in their season. Hopefully Osborne okay, making a switch to Weimer now to be able to just give Osborne a chance to ice that down and keep her safe.
Boy, they just have not had very much luck behind the plate this season. Tennessee, 3 catchers, if you include Osborne coming out of this game, have dealt with some sort of a nagging injury or another. 2 players out for the season. Here is Sydney Parr. She is 1 for 7 this series, but tripled and scored in her first at bat of this game, seeing 10 pitches. That came off the bat, or off the arm rather, of Ashley Rogers. Corner infield drawn in for Parr. Over to short. Segert flips to second. The throw to first not in time.
But
he does get the lead runner, though.
It's a dead ball because she was out of the box again. So because of that out of the box step, it's that left foot that leaves her vulnerable. She's out of the box when contact is made. So Sydney Parr, for the third time in this series, now being called for that out of the box. The slapping rule that was brought into play last year in the 2018 season falls victim to that again. Because of that call, it is an automatic dead ball. Runners have to return to the base where they were, and that'll flip the lineup over to the top.
So here's Hannah McEwen. McEwen lines it into the mid of Aubrey Leach, climbing the ladder at second base. Maddie Moss gets out of the inning, stranding a runner, still tied at 1.
We welcome you to Clearwater. The amount of great matchups and great teams here.
Good piece of hitting here.
It is gone!
Spectacular matchups all weekend here.
Back to the track. And it is caught. What a catch!
Are you serious?
A magical couple of days. What an incredible event.
The inaugural St. Pete Clearwater Elite Invitational presented by Wilson was a success and will continue into next year.
So many amazing matchups that have now trickled into the seeds, or sort into the rankings that you see now. All of those teams that were there able to get that super regional feel, just a championship feel back in February. Can you imagine what that means to these teams to be able to have that experience early on, learn those lessons early, and to have them seep into the rest of their season and get them down ready for conference play and a postseason push?
Here's Kaylin Hannon. Bunt attempt. Tapped foul. In the 9 spot for the Volunteers. Tied at 1 with Arkansas here in the bottom of the 5th. The rubber match of this top 20 showdown. And you talk about regional feel early in the season. Ralph Weekly told us this series has a regional feel.
Every weekend in SEC play, the coaches will tell you it feels like super regionals every single weekend. Just the pressure that you have to produce sets you up so well. And because of that, you see the RPI directly correlating to all of those matchups that they have week in and week out. Iron forges iron is what Michelle Smith always says, and that's really true in the SEC.
Here's the 1-2 pitch, and Hannon takes it upstairs. Hannon rung up looking. That is the 5th strikeout of the afternoon for Mary Half.
It's 2 in a row now. She finished last inning with a looking strikeout, used an away pitch, but that change of speed so hard to adjust to. Keeping that one down in the zone, it makes it almost impossible to hit, because as you get out on that front side, even if you get your barrel through, it usually drops down underneath. A great pitch by Half for another strikeout.
Back to the top of the order now for Aubrey Leach. Corner infield drawn in for the slap hitting Leach.
That shallow defense forces her to stay away from the short game. Expect her to punch this one through with a hard slap or try to lift it over her middle infielders into the grass.
There's a bouncing ball to short, bobbled by Monzo, no play.
Shortstops are known as the bull in the china shop. You've got to be aggressive forward. You cannot sit back and let this hop play you. As Monzo sets her feet preparing for the second hop, that's the hop that you have to make sure that you get forward through. Make sure that's a short hop. You pick that one as you move through that one, especially with the speed of Leach going down the line. So another miscue for Arkansas on the left side. Monzo's got to shake that one, though, and make sure that she comes away with it. It is a hit for Leach.
And now Jenna Holcomb lines this into right field. And it gets past the glove of Katie Warwick. Rounding third and headed to home is Leach. And Arkansas has taken a 2-1 lead. That is just the second run batted into the season for Jenna Holcomb.
At lower levels of softball, you might see coaches try to hide fielders in the outfield to give them innings. But I tell you what, the outfield wins and loses ball games based on the angles that they take. A beautiful job by Holcomb to just drive this ball the other way, but the angle of Warwick prevents her from cutting this one off. Because of that, it allows another run to score and gets Holcomb with her speed all the way around to third. Angles wins ball games, and they've got to start taking better angles. Outfield play, the difference in this game for both Tennessee and Arkansas.
And now Chelsea Segern ropes it into right, driving in another. Back-to-back runs batted in for Tennessee.
Right now, Tennessee finally finding a way to get some quality at-bats strung together with runners in scoring position. It's the top of the lineup that's been so potent for them throughout this series. Able to come away with another RBI, 1 through 3, have been able to put runs on the board for Tennessee. And Segern doing a great job of not trying to do too much with this pitch, recognizing the speed on third would give her an opportunity if she could just punch the ball through the infield.
Tennessee's bats coming alive here in the bottom of the fifth. A 2-run lead and still threatening. Well, the runner at first and 1 down for Haley Bearden. Third time through the order has proved fruitful for the Vols. And now Ralph Weekly comes over from third base to chat with Pat Lyon.
A unique visit with the umpire. You want to keep that momentum. I don't understand what that conversation was about. We don't see a change of runner or a change of batter. So you want to make sure that you keep the pressure in the circle, continue to keep those emotions running high. That was not a timeout that I would expect to see for Weekly unless they were questioning whether it was a fielder or something like that. But a momentum disruptor for Tennessee, trying to compound the emotions that Arkansas is feeling right now.
1-1, Bearden ripped over to first base and foul. Fans have come alive here in the fifth inning. It's amazing what a few runs scored will do for the hometown crowd.
Lady Ball Locos cheering as loud as they can. That last one was, holy cow, that was foul. Move it over. I just love the way that they interact with the crowd, and everybody responds so well to them.
Here's a drive, deep right field. Kiss it goodbye. A 2-run bomb for Haley Bearden. And she has broken this game open here in the fifth.
Haley Bearden takes the foul ball in the pitch before and does exactly what the Lady Ball Locos asked her to do and move that one over. Not only did she move it fair, but she moved that one over the fence. Just squared up a pitch that got left big. Arkansas, some miscues in this inning has given them an opportunity. Tennessee taking advantage and being able to get the lead. 4 runs in this inning, and that'll get half lifted.
9th home run of the year for Haley Bearden. And Mary Half, who had been so solid coming into this fifth inning, run out by a string of 3 straight hits and a miscue over at shortstop that sort of got it all started for Tennessee. And now these fans loving it here in Knoxville.
And once you get a crowd engaged in a game, it's almost as if you get another player on their team. That's why home field advantage is so important within the SEC. You see them take an active role in the emotion of a game, and that's what's happening here. Half really trying to get the ball to be able to play and be defended, but you can't defend a home run. It was those plays at short and also in right that led to that situation, and unable to respond. That'll get her lifted in this one and bring Storms into the circle.
That home run for Bearden, her 4th in the last 8 games. First home run of the series for Tennessee. It had been Arkansas who homered in games 1 and game 2.
And the biggest difference between Half and Storms is Storms like to stay down in the zone, and so for her, the defense is going to have to stay on point. They've got to be able to field that ground ball, play clean defense behind her. She loves to use the changeup and disrupt the timing of hitters. I, as a hitter, would move up in the box, knowing that she loves her drop ball. I would try to attack that drop ball before it breaks, which does break late. Move up in the box, catch that ball a little bit higher in the zone.
We saw Storms get the start for Arkansas in Game 1. And now making another appearance here in Game 3, and her team trails by 4. Still only 1 out. Base is empty for Kaylee Phillips. And it's quickly 0-2 to the freshman.
But in talking with the weeklies, they know that that's the game plan of Storms, to fill up the bottom of the zone. The change that has to be made, though, is as a hitter, you've got to move up in the box and try to catch it before that late break down below your knees.
And a strikeout on 3 straight pitches. Storms coming out firing. 2 gone.
Sometimes a hitter will feel uncomfortable moving around in the box, feeling that they know their zone better from one spot in the box. But you don't want to move yourself closer or further away from the plate in this situation. You just want to move yourself closer to the pitcher, closer to Storms, to try to catch this ball before it falls off the table back at the catcher. It's a tough adjustment to make, though, knowing that the speed has increased from Half to Storms. Storms throwing up there in the upper 60s. It's a little bit of a different look, knowing that Half brings it in down at the low 60s. So you've got to get that front foot down early.
Here is Ashley Morgan. Takes a pitch outside, leveling the count at 1 apiece. Morgan today has been hit by a pitch and flied out to center field. Storms, who we saw in Game 1, went 5 innings, giving up 4 earned runs. 6 altogether. And like we've talked about, the theme for this Arkansas team this season has been some miscues in the field. There were 2 errors in that game earlier in the series that allowed 2 runs to come around and score. The 1 error in the 4th. And now an error here in the 5th for Arkansas, bringing life into this Tennessee team, who has now scored 4 runs in the inning.
They did give a hit to that ball to shortstop, though, correct? That
they
was
changed
misplayed.
it back to an error.
They did give it an error. And I think that's the right call. That ball was playable, and she was able to glove it up, just misplayed it.
Here's a ball over to second, fielded by Duncan, and that ends the inning. Tennessee getting some big hits here in the 5th.
But Haley Bearden lights one up. Tennessee responding and able to get on the board big.
Beautiful day here in Knoxville, Tennessee. The rubber match, Tennessee on top 5-1 with just a couple of innings remaining here in Game 3. You can log on to ESPNW.com, meet Washington shortstop sensation Sis Bates. Check out the 1,000 strikeouts for Florida's Kelly Barnhill. What a season so far for her, plus scores, highlights, and more on ESPNW.com.
And those strikeouts by Kelly Barnhill, while impressive, Mary Half in this game that was lifted last inning is second in the SEC in strikeouts this season to Kelly Barnhill.
There's a first pitch swing from Danielle Gibson. It's off the top of the wall. Well played, though, by Haley Bearden. And it's a leadoff single for Danielle Gibson.
And this is the Danielle Gibson that we were expecting to see at the beginning of this. I think that wrist really was giving her a problem early in this series. The injury that she sustained in their midweek, able to come through now. That's played perfectly off the wall. If that ball doesn't go out, she positioned herself perfectly to be able to play it off the wall and keep Gibson from advancing to second base.
Visit to the circle by Karen Weekly, and a pinch runner for the Razorbacks. It's Sam Torres, who we've seen pinch run a couple of times already in the series. This is the point in the game where you have to pull out all the stops, trailing by 4.
You just got to string together base hits. You're not going to win this one in one swing. So as they sit in the most potent part of their lineup, Arkansas cannot try to swing too big. Maddie Moss will take advantage by trying to disrupt timing, pitch the ball out of the zone, but she will try to pitch ahead. So Arkansas needs to hit early in the count, take advantage of balls a little bit more over the plate.
Here's Ashley Diaz. behind the plate, Katie Weimer, who came in for the freshman Gracie Osborne. She's making just her 5th appearance of the season. Arkansas not known for a base stealing team, but Sam Torres does possess speed over at first.
And at this point in the lineup, they've got some power to push runners around. Tennessee has not thrown out an attempted base stealer yet this season. And so because of that, I think I would test the waters. You've got a new catcher back behind the dish, and you've got an opportunity with a little bit of speed over there on first base with Torres.
Here is the 1-1 to Diaz. Swing and a miss. Some heat from Maddie Moss at 66.
That's what Maddie Moss has added to her repertoire this year, the ability to change speeds and still throw her pitches on location. And so for the hitters of Arkansas, they've got to make sure they stay in their legs and stay balanced. As soon as they let their weight shift forward, they're going to be vulnerable.
Here's the 1-2. Up the middle and into right field, and that rolls to the wall. Hustling around third base, and she'll stay there. Torres stays at third on the double from Diaz. That is the first time, partner, that Arkansas has had back-to-back base hits in the series.
It's a pitch that just sits big over the outer half of the plate. It's an off-speed drop, but Diaz recognizes it, allows it to travel deep into her zone, and just drives it the other way. Doesn't try to do too much of it. Because it gets all the way to the wall, Torres has speed and gets to third base. I question that holdup, though, by Deifel, wondering if that transition out there at second base by Leach coming in from the outfield, it had to have been perfect to get Torres at home, but playing it safe, Deifel will hold Torres up at third, and that stays at no outs. You don't want to get the out at home this early in the inning, and so maybe a great hold, but at the same time, you're looking for that aggression to try to get Arkansas back in this one as they sit down by 4.
Sam Torres at third, a pinch runner. Now another pinch runner comes in for Diaz. It is Heidi Bugarin at second base. Still no outs, and here is Katie Warwick. Warwick, if you were with us yesterday, homered, giving this Arkansas team a 1-0 lead, which is all they needed on their way to a Game 2 victory. Some drama in the rubber match. Oh, 1 to Warwick. Moss has not allowed a run in relief in her last 3 appearances. She gets a strike call on the outside corner. 67 from Moss.
And a generous spot out there on the outside of the plate. Warwick needing to understand that that's where Moss is going to stay. She's not going to give her anything in her wheelhouse. She knows she has power, so she doesn't want to give her anything that she can square up. Warwick needing to look to go away.
The 1-2. Warwick fights it off. Talked about timely hitting and the lack thereof in this series. Katie Warwick on the season, batting .341 with runners in scoring position. And has added 2 home runs in such positions this season. A home run or even a hit would be huge for the Razorbacks here.
Coach Deifel let us know that Warwick was one of those hitters that will battle. She'll take hits, or she'll take counts deep because she's able to foul things off and really stay on the zone. We've seen her be very vulnerable to the ball up in the zone, and so far, Maddie Moss just trying to use that new pitch, that off-speed drop, and also that hard drop on the outside corner to get Weimer.
16th pitch. Here's a bouncing ball to short, centered on the first out of the inning, but a run comes across. And it's now a 5-2 lead for Tennessee. So a productive out for Katie Warwick.
Well, and well played by Torres to be able to recognize that that ball was going to the middle infielders who were playing back. It was going to give her an opportunity to get home. So on the crack of the bat, recognizing the ball angle down, she took off right away and made it. And there was no chance for Segern at short to go home with it.
Here is Kayla Green. Green 0 for 4 in the series. Lined out to center fielder last time up in the 4th.
She was the first batter to face Maddie Moss, so she has in this game already a familiarity with Moss and what she's throwing.
0-1 fouled straight back. A good cut from Green. We're down in the count 0-2. Just off the inside part of the plate, and an appeal up to first. Ed Clark said Green did not go around. Maddie Moss can't believe it. And Maddie Moss's argument is that the home plate umpire, Pat Lyon, signaled for a strikeout.
This pitch is a great spot on the inside corner. There was a small indication. So they're going to have to review that one and talk it over as umpires. That little look right there, it's almost, it looks like he wanted to call it, but then didn't. Then they asked for help down the line to ask if she went. So that little bit of a hiccup and communication between what was going on. Maddie Moss begging for that strike call. It was a great pitch. On the inside corner, a beautifully placed pitch where she had been really living on the outside corner. Rode that one in on the hands of Green, but she stays alive.
So the count is 1-2. Runner at third, one out, and a 3-run lead for Tennessee. Big at-bats here for Arkansas. 1-2 pitch. Off the plate.
And while the crowd doesn't like it, that's a great call. That pitch is over in the river, almost in the other box. And so that's a great spot for Maddie Moss to try to take advantage of maybe the emotions of Green that had been elevated in that last call, trying to get the swing and a miss. A great placed pitch, not a strike, but a good miss for Moss out of the circle.
Full count. Tying run on deck for Arkansas. Moss gets the strikeout.
Maddie Moss with the KO.
Her second strikeout of the afternoon and a big one for the senior.
And this is what senior leadership does in the circle. The ability for Moss to go right back in on the hands, bringing it up in the zone. A great pitch for Moss. Green can't combat it. I mean, that pitch is right in her wheelhouse. She just has to get her barrel out in front of it, but it mixes her up because she'd been seeing so many pitches on that outer corner.
2 down now for Ali Bonzo. Monzo's last hit in the series came back in game 1. She doubled. Bouncing it over to third, fielded by Phillips. Strong throw on to first, and that ends the inning. Maddie Moss gets out of the jam allowing just 1 run. Arkansas trails by 3. Tennessee on top 5-2, a 4-run 5th inning partner for the Volunteers.
Jenna Holcomb able to come away with a big hit after Aubrey Leach had gotten on to put Tennessee up. Then Chelsea Segern another one, and then the big bomb by Haley Bearden. That was a no-doubter over the wall. A little shimmy at home gives Tennessee the big lead.
And now Caitlin Parsons pinch hitting for Amanda Ayala. First pinch hit of the season for Parsons. Also a change in the field to tell you about. Maggie Hicks in at shortstop. First time that we've seen her in the series in the field. Hicks had been dealing with a shoulder injury to her glove hand. All smiles today, though. Glad to be back out on the diamond. Arkansas trails by 3 here in the rubber match. Ralph Weekly chatting things over with our home plate umpire, Pat Lyon. And Parsons was scheduled to bat for Tennessee, but instead it will be Amanda Ayala staying in the 7th spot. So there will be no pinch hitter for Tennessee. Ayala flew out to left and has also reached on an error this afternoon. 2 errors for Arkansas. One, especially back in the 5th, has proved costly. And Ayala punches it foul.
Ayala has put some really good swings on balls today. I was not understanding the need to lift her for the pinch hitter of Parsons, so I like that they come back to Ayala and give her another opportunity to square up another one. Hit the ball hard out into left. It was the one that got into the eyes.
Ayala off the plate, rolled a dead ball. Autumn Storms back in the circle, came in to relieve Mary Half back in the 5th, facing her 3rd batter. Pitched 5 innings back in game 1. The 1-2. Ayala rolls it over to second. Duncan on the first one away. The NCAA Women's Championship 2nd round continues tonight with UConn Buffalo at 7 Eastern. Then it's Mississippi State Clemson on ESPN and the ESPN app. And now Katie Weimer, who came in for Gracie Osborne behind the dish, getting her first at bat of the series. This is just her 5th appearance in a game this season for the Volunteers.
Hoping that Osborne is okay back behind the dish. She did get that hit by pitch off of her receiving elbow, so that's a tough one. That's a tough place to wear it, hoping that she's okay, but Weimer stepping in.
0-1, called a strike on the inside corner, and Storms ahead in the count. Weimer fights it off, foul down the 3rd base line. This is just the 3rd at-bat of the season for Weimer. She's 1 for 2 stepping up to the plate this afternoon.
It's a great spot to get some SEC experience, learn how to keep your heart rate down and emotions in check so that you can step in and produce later on if you're needed.
Putting together a nice at-bat against Autumn Storms.
in a first at bat, I would love to be able to face Storms. Knowing that she doesn't go up in the zone, it's a whole lot easier to face a pitcher that you know is going to be throwing you down and perhaps away. Those are easier pitches to hit. A ball that goes up in the zone gets up in your eyes, and a swing and a miss is very often the case.
Weimer punches it foul on the right field line. A win today for Tennessee would push them to 4-2 in conference play. And should they win today, they will have won back-to-back SEC series to start conference play. Meanwhile, a loss would drop Arkansas to below 500 in the SEC.
This is a great battle for Weimer, stepping in and just trying to foul everything off that's close to the zone, not leaving it up to the umpire to give that looking strikeout. So I like the aggression of Weimer in the box, but Mary Half needing to maybe disrupt her timing and get her that different look to keep her off.
There's a drive into center. McEwen staying put, gloves, 2 away. And now Ralph Weekly will utilize the pinch hitter. Caitlin Parsons pinch hitting now for Kaylin Hannon in the 9 spot with 2 down.
Hannon in this series is hitless, had gone 0 for 2 in this one with 2 strikeouts, was 0 for 4 previously, and so I like this move. Give Hannon a break and give her an opportunity maybe midweek to gain back some confidence, but give Parsons an opportunity here at the bottom of the lineup.
Corner infield drawn in for Parsons. She is batting .364 this season. Over 33 at bats. High hopper to short, fielded by Hicks. Throw off the line. Parsons safe at first.
But another look at why slappers have struggled. Out of the box, stepped across with that left foot again. Check out that left foot. Over the line, makes contact with the ball. Because of that, she's called out, and that'll end the inning.
What could have been a base hit ends in a 1-2-3 inning for Storms. You are watching the SEC on ESPN. Top 20 rubber match from Knoxville. Quick game summary, a big 4-run fifth for Tennessee, and that is why they lead by 3 heading into the final inning for Arkansas. 3 outs to get 3 runs for the Razorbacks.
Half struggled in that 5th inning, giving up some hits and then a big home run. That would get her lifted and bring in Storms, but right now Arkansas trying to respond to a 3-run deficit.
Taylor Green digs in. 7, 8, and 9 due up for Arkansas. They have struggled in this series. 6, 7, 8, and 9 hitters for the Razorbacks, just 1 for 27 against the Volunteers this weekend.
There's that off-speed drop again, new to the repertoire of Maddie Moss. And as a hitter, those are so hard to see the difference. The spin comes the same out of the hand of Moss, but she takes something a little something off of that. And so it goes from coming in at 65, 66 down to 57, 58.
0-2 to Green. Just misses. Good eye from Taylor Green, who has already drawn 1 walk this afternoon. Her 3rd time up. Struck out swinging in her first at bat against Maddie Moss back in the 5th. And Green is punched out on the outside corner, the 3rd strikeout for Maddie Moss. Sports Center tonight after the NCAA women's 2nd round matchup between Clemson and Mississippi State with Steve Levy and John Anderson. They'll look ahead to the Sweet 16 and the team with the best odds at the title. Plus, how did James Harden follow up his historic 57 and 60-point performances? Reaction from New Orleans and basketball's greatest crossover artists in this week's SEC Featured. SportsCenter, 11 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Nicole Duncan at the plate with one down and the bases empty. Her team trailing by 3. By the way, if you're tuning in looking for the Duke-Syracuse lacrosse game, you can find that on the app. Once this game concludes, we will get you out there on ESPNU. One and one count to Duncan. Ryan Jackson is on deck for Arkansas. Two-time MEAC Player of the Year, transfer from Bethune-Cookman, who we have not seen yet in the series. Duncan fooled on the off-speed from Moss.
Such a great addition to Maddie Moss this season, knowing that she had a changeup prior in years past, but now adding that change of speed on multiple pitches really disrupts a hitter unable to keep up with that one, way ahead of it.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Maddie Moss.
Maddie Moss with the KO.
Arkansas down to its final out. Moss had 8 strikeouts in yesterday's relief effort. Karen Weekly wants to come out and chat things over with her, facing Ryan Jackson for the first time in the series.
Ryan Jackson, a very potent hitter, but no one has seen her in this series. So because of that, perhaps Karen Weekly recognizing an opportunity to come out and translate that out to the circle and also to the defense to let them know what to expect out of a hitter that they have not seen in this series. And so Tennessee right now in the driver's seat, up by 3 runs, just needing to get another out, get themselves out of this one. Karen Weekly recognizing that perhaps just needing to translate that out to the field so that nobody gets tight.
All smiles there in the circle. Maddie Moss has struck out 14 batters in 8 1/3 innings pitched in the series. And you talk about how we haven't seen Ryan Jackson in the series. We haven't seen her a lot this season for Arkansas. She's just 5 for 22 at the plate. And we talked to Courtney Deifel about that, and she said, look, the bottom line is we just haven't been able to find a place for her on the field because the outfielders have swung the bats so well this season for Arkansas. So it's a matter of sort of figuring out where we can plug her in. She comes to the plate with 2 outs and the base is empty. Couldn't hold back on the check swing.
You know, you wonder what was said in the circle by Karen Weekly. It's one of those mic'd up moments that you wish you could have that be ready tomorrow. Mic'd Up Monday will be back. So if you're curious what those coaches are saying, Mic'd Up Monday, and a great opportunity to hear.
Jackson skies it foul. And now down to her final strike. More of Karen Weekly on Mic'd Up Monday later in April. Crowd rising to its feet. Moss going for her 4th save of the season. The 2nd in the series. 0-2. One hopper. Shortstop. Seger late with the throw. And the game continues. Jackson getting aboard for Arkansas.
Well, as Segern went in the hole, she did a good job of covering up that 5-6 slot. But as she went to pick it up and find the handle on it to be able to throw across the diamond, it just got caught up in her heel. So that little teeny miscue, the inability to grab that ball cleanly, that's what gave the opportunity for Jackson to get down the line.
Pinch runner over at first base is Valerie Ventura.
First base, number 7, Sydney Parr.
Check that, it's Sydney Parr. So Parr, who Jackson pinch hit for, is now pinch running for Jackson.
Just a simple re-entry, right? Just able to be re-entered. It's not like baseball, so she's able to come back in and will run for the base hit that Jackson was able to get.
Back to the top of the order now for Hannah McEwen. McEwen on a 14-game hit streak, 0 for 3 today. She did drive in a run back in the third, but this potentially her last chance to extend that hit streak to 15 games. Down in the count 0-2. Run on deck should McEwen get aboard. Arkansas down to its final strike here in the rubber match. And McEwen continues to fight off pitches from Maddie Moss.
The top of the lineup has really shown great fight for Arkansas, always putting together some really good at-bats, taking the counts deep, driving the ball hard. It's the top of the lineup that's been productive for Arkansas. The bottom of the lineup, really that missing link, trying to find a way to find the right matchups, but the top of the lineup, very productive for Arkansas.
1-2 from Moss. Just off the outer edge. Good eye from Hannah McEwen.
And a good pitch by Moss, knowing that she has gotten that call in the outside corner, trying to get the swing and a miss as she sat ahead in the count. So it's a good miss. That was a purposeful pitch off the corner, trying to get the swing and a miss.
Moss ends the series with a strikeout. Her 5th of the game, and Tennessee takes the series 2-1 in this top 20 rubber match.
Tennessee needed that win, did a great job, able to produce a lot of runs in that 5th inning.
Once again, our final score 5-2 in favor of the Volunteers. Coming up next, men's lacrosse, Duke and Syracuse. For Jenny Dalton-Hill and our entire crew, I'm Matt Schumacher. So long from Knoxville, Tennessee.